Hi, I'm Paul Ryan, and welcome to America's Heartland. Today, we're in Fryeburg, Maine, which is smack dab on the border of Maine and New Hampshire, and we are at an old-time fair. And I do mean old. It dates back to 1851, and it features everything agricultural, both the old and the new. Okay, well, this is not as much work as I thought it was going to be. Well, we're back here now at the fair in Fryeburg, Maine, and this is probably the biggest day at the fair. It is called Woodsman's Field Day, and I'm with Don Quigley.
Don Quigley, right.
And you are a professor of forestry at the University of New Hampshire.
That's correct.
And you're also a contestant here.
Well, it's been a hobby of mine for 30 years. The core of forestry here in the northeastern part of the United States is the harvesting and the wood industries. And so if you go back 150 years, forestry was logging, logging was forestry.
90% of Maine is still covered with forest?
That's correct. It's the #1 most forested state in all of the United States. New Hampshire's #2. 350 years of harvesting timber. And so this may be, in some ways of measuring it, one of the models of sustainability for natural resources in the world.
What are all the events presented here?
Well, there's a cross-section of everything a logger would have been doing in the woods 100 years ago. Felling the trees, chopping them into lengths, sawing them with crosscut saws, sawing them with chainsaws, a more modern addition to the thing. So it really is we like to call this a rodeo of the forest. It comes from an era when these skills were highly prized and really revered in the rural communities, and so that's how it came along.
What is this we're doing here?
Oh, this is a two-person crosscut saw, and these things came into the woods about the time of the Civil War, and they revolutionized logging in their day. This one has been modified for competition, but it's a great old tradition and fun to do.
Up here in the far northeast corner of the U.S., you might think that fall offers little more than colorful leaves and the approach of winter. Well, if so, then you haven't heard of this fair here in Fryeburg, Maine. And like this old grinding wheel here, it's a hands-on experience that some 400,000 people come to enjoy.
And the crowds here will end up totaling almost 1/3 the population of Maine. Here you'll find what can be found at many fairs. From kids and cows to teams and tractors. But two things here draw huge crowds: logs and dogs. If you like to follow those that follow the flock, herding events make for a diverting day.
Nicely through that obstacle. Now she needs to bring them straight down the field and clockwise around that cone. She needs to come across the field and through the panels on this side.
And while the ins and outs of herding are something to observe, it's the Timberman's Day that makes this fair so unique.
There are 20,000 people here today to watch this event. Probably the largest crowd to watch any lumberjack competition in the country, maybe in the world.
So what is the technique now on something like this?
This race is won in these two holes right here. These two holes right there win that race. You don't make that, like I messed this hole all up, took way too many hits to do it, and it cost me the race.
Now what do you do for a living?
What I do for a living, this, from May to October, this is my living.
So for carefully timed world champion lumberjacks and lumberjills.
What do you think of your mom out here doing this?
I think it's great.
What do you tell the kids at school your mom does in her days off?
She goes and puts her world record.
She said world record. You have a world record in something?
I have 3.
In what?
For both saw.
And you had a gentleman here today who was 83 years young competing.
That's for sure. Dave Gear, great champion from the 50s, and he's still competing, and he's still in pretty darn good shape, and he just loves cutting wood like the rest of us.
Whether it's cutting sheep or cutting timber, if you want to have a look at what life is like for those who believe that work is play, this is the place to be.